Hello everyone, welcome back to more for the Salt Throne Tournament, the 32-man invitational being run by our beloved Lannister. I am BlackShadow, and this is post-coverage of my third group game from Group B. This is Game F, or so I'm reliably told, featuring the Badger, DS, and Mr. Cheesable. And the first game I played alongside him for a long old time. This is going to be done in post-recording, as, again, it's one I played, so it's going to be a little bit different from the stuff I normally do. It's not fully cards up. I know it's not 100% everyone's people's taste, but as Orski learnt very quickly, trying to do full coverage of your games as you're playing them is pretty tough going. So here's the state of play from the group as things stand. It has been pretty wild, all things being honest. Top of the group being led by Che Guevara with 2 wins from 2. Looking pretty decent to make its way through to the semi-finals, but far from guaranteed with wins as the Baron and Paul Atreides of all people. So good on him. That was against Ilban and Tesia, the so-called gods of Iximo. But plenty of chasing packs as well. Green Ghouls with 9 points from 3. Loads of second places. Yet to crack the top, though. Patience in as well. DS winning his only game. And then going further down, Cheesable, this was his first game of the competition. Badger had not had a great competition so far. Only getting 5 points from 3. So pretty much looks like he's not going to make it. And then there's the humble myself. After a very miserable first match, we actually managed to get a pretty hard-fought second place in the game that was posted earlier in the week. So the only way I ever make it through to the next round is basically winning both games and hoping that DS kind of comes unstuck, basically. And that's pretty much the best I can hope for. It's not saying that it's impossible, but that it's going to be very hard to manage. But, you know, I guess if you don't try, you can never achieve, right? So seats drawn, we take 4th position, and Cheesable will be first to act in this one. So let's go have a look at the Imperium row in text. I actually remember to get a zoom in for you guys, so I could better cover this in the future. And yes, the Talaxu Master looms on the opening row. It's always interesting, I guess, when he's on there, one of the two. As it kind of, there's a bit of game of chicken to see who's going to break first to try and secure him. Obviously highly desirable. Other good cards there as well, though. G-Manipulation is, you know, usually pretty strong. Not quite as good as it used to be, perhaps, but still solid. Bounty Hunter's a nice card to have early. Mahim is really good, but hard to get early as well, so some decent stuff. The Talaxu row, Beguiling Pheromones is a risky card to take. It can be very effective and can do a lot of cool stuff, but it's kind of very hard to get a lot of use out of. Face On's Initiate is not a bad card for one specimen, giving you some faction access, especially if it's going to be a game, potentially, where there's not a lot of it, and in this game, there isn't a ton on this opening row. What faction there is pretty expensive. The techs are pretty decent, though, however. Hollow Projectors, Snoopers, and Training Drones, all decent, all fairly cheap, so I was expecting to see some action for those early. And here was the leader pool for the game. Again, we are first to choose. It's hidden picks, so 6 are removed randomly. I'm the only person who has complete information of what's on the board here. And so the fun begins. So what I try to do when I'm in early positions of picking leaders is I try, especially when I'm 4th, is I try to look for kind of niches in the general set of leaders that I can try to monopolize. And as you can see here, all the card drawers are here. Helena, Paul, Ikaz, Ariana, all that sort of stuff. So there's absolutely plethora of card drawers. You've got one dedicated combat dude, which is the Beast, and you've got one dedicated faction person in this one, which is Tesia. And as you folks know, like, I do enjoy playing Beast. I had to play Beast in the other comp game that I've recorded on the channel. But I also do enjoy my factions, and I usually am pretty competitive around there, and as such, Tesia is kind of a natural blend for me to do that and kind of be creative. It helps that she's probably one of the best leaders in the game as well, due to her flexibility. Be honest, I wasn't super excited to pick her, being brutally honest, but I was like, I mean, I suppose I'm meant to try to win this match, realistically. So we go for the Tesia pick in the end, which, you know, can't be bad. 4th position can be a little bit tricky for her, but it wouldn't matter in this one, because this game would go very quickly off the rails. And so as the picks are taken, Sunny DS takes Helena in 3rd position, clearly eyeing up the Talaxu Master, which is another way you could go about it. I don't hate. Badger with the Beast in 2nd, pretty solid. And then Paul Atreides for Cheesable in 1st position, which I don't actually hate. I think given the set of leaders, I think that's totally fine. I think Paul can do some fun stuff. Obviously, holo projectors is a massive tech for you here. And if you can get hold of that, that is really, really important. And it did play a part into later on this match as well. So I don't hate Paul Drazen first. Try and get the ring, draw a load of cards, get some decent Imperium Road cards in your hand. Try to draw them second round and try and get a little bit edge that way. Don't hate it at all. So the game opens up, and you can see our hand here for Tesia in full position. It's pretty ugly. Signet Ring, Experimentation, no faction access whatsoever, so not happy to see that. Everyone else, I'm pretty sure, does draw faction access, but again, this game goes off the rails very, very quickly. I tend to skip through the opening round or so, because it's all kind of a bit standard, but this was anything but here, so... Paul Atreides, after a little bit of consideration, thinking about it, decides to go for smuggling with his Signet Ring. Again, looking to draw cards, makes total sense to me. And then the weirdness happens. It starts immediately here. So normally second position would go fold space to fold space again and get hold of shipping, but Badger goes still suits immediately. And now I know what... I knew immediately what Beast was doing. This is one of the few conflicts where the Beast Raban can do some really, really cool stuff, and I've realized when he hits still suits he's doing, because this is a move I used to do a lot in the base game. What he's looking to do here is go for still suits and then great flat, and what he's looking to do is get hold of the 2 coins to get him up to 3, and then next round conspire Swordmaster, round 2. Can't be stopped by anyone. No one can do anything about it. If he ends up winning the conflict, he gets a victory point, so he doesn't care. So as long as he gets anything out of this, he can just go Conspire, Swordmaster, and then look to go for the second conflict, basically. And especially if his ring is going to be drawn in his second hand, it's extra effective. So I like the move from Badger, but it completely upsets everything that happens here. And this just gets wilder as we go here. Helena then follows this up, and you think, well, okay, guess she just goes fold space. And, of course, she doesn't. She goes reconning to Arakeen. Now, I assumed this was to draw faction access, but I'm pretty sure she already had it. I have a feeling what happened here is she was looking to get hold of a ring, perhaps, obviously to get hold of the Talaxu Master. Hadn't drawn it immediately. That 100% would have been the obvious move to go there or Carfag, but I assumed didn't have it there. And then it gets to us. And we haven't done anything, and I'm already at a pretty important intersection in this game here. So... those of you who, watch a bit of my stuff and maybe will follow some of the streams and like the stuff I post on our Discord group will know that I don't really like the Talaxu Master. I'm not a fan of him at all. Personally, I think the game would be better if they didn't exist, but they do. Now, I have 5 persuasion, and we are legitimately considering just a straight hard Talaxu Master review, in the spirit of Lannister, who was doing this as an experiment when the game sort of first came out here. To be fair to myself, there's some justification. My hand is miserable here. It is absolutely terrible. This is about as bad a draw as I could possibly get for Tesia in position for in round 1. The ring's doing nothing. There's no spice to really mine. I could go Carfag, I guess, but that's about it, really. So I end up opting here to go for the hard reveal and just sack the complete first turn to pick up the Talaxu Master immediately and look to hope to try to get that to get me through the game here. I'm not proud of this at all, and I hated doing this. I felt kind of dirty, but it's the world I occupied. It was like, well, if anyone else gets it, it's just like my game's in real trouble here. I feel terrible doing it. It's definitely, for sure. But the only thing that kind of made me want to do it is that I wanted to get hold of the Face Dancer Initiate as well. It's a great card for Tesia, being able to combine that with, say, like experimentations, so I can obviously look to hit factions and get the experimenting going still regardless. And of course, this is going to help power the Talaxu Master in my quest across the board here, to then later on start picking up Spicemas Flows towards the back end of the game. So we go for the hard sacrifice here, and we just go for it. Talaxu Master, Face Dancer Initiate, whatever turns up on the road, be damned. And yeah, that was our first turn. We did nothing. I can't remember the last time I've been in a game where my first round took me 4 seconds, but here we go. My other concern as well for doing the hard reveal is also the fact that I reckon seeing that Beast and Helena have already gone fairly hefty into this combat, that the best I'm really ever going to get here is probably second. I might not even get second place realistically. I'm expecting a lot of violence to occur here. And Paul Atreides, if I go in, might just hit Hardy Warriors and jam and load of dudes himself. So I figured this is just not a conflict for me to get involved in. And that's ultimately what ends up happening. We actually pretty much predict what's going to happen here. Cheesable does Hardy Warriors, jams it all in. Assuming he's got a couple of daggers to go for backup here. The Beast continues with the Conspire Swordmaster plan, which makes sense. So he's pretty much... he gives up on the conflict. He's like, well, okay, I guess. And then Helena then has the faction access. And the weirdness continues. Doesn't go for the victory point. And also, astonishingly, doesn't go fold space. She goes wealth. It's a crazy first round, this. A completely absurd opening round. I don't know who this really favors. I mean, I guess it's good for me. But yeah, no one shipping first round in any capacity. I didn't control it. Don't look at me, kids. It wasn't my responsibility. So Paul Atreides reveals for free. He takes the gene manipulation, which is a pretty good card. A couple of specimens as well. He also picks up the Carino genes, which Cheesable does like to do in the first round. The extra 2 Solari is good. But of course, it can stick in your hand, so you need to get hold of some graft, preferably to try and get some use out of that. Otherwise, it's going to just kind of be a bit stuck there. Beast shows the 2 daggers, but decided not to commit more troops, realizing what was going to go on here for the next round. And then Helena reveals for just the 1 dagger here, and again, the 2 specimens, and she goes for Interstellar Conspiracy, I think. She does indeed, which is a handy little graph card, and of course, it's circle access here, which is good for Helena, because of course she infiltrates all that. So yeah, a completely outrageous first round, and it would continue in this game. Just all sorts of madness here as we move on. So here we go then. So round 2 is the Mentat conflict here, which is not bad for us actually, in a way. I would like to try to target that if possible with my double faction access. So Beast, of course, again, continue the Conspire Swordmaster. It's 100% we set up for. Makes total sense. Helena goes for Seek Allies back to wealth again. So Helena is just like, okay, I'm just going to hardway it to Swordmaster and just jam this. If I can pick up 2 coins in this conflict, I'm guaranteed Swordmaster next round, which is going to be pretty good. Because obviously you're not going to beat the Beast to it. And action goes to us. So we've got both of our diplomacy cards. And we kind of need to use both of them now. But preferably, especially considering I've got hold of the Initiate here, we have to get Seek Allies out of our hand. I do talk about sometimes about keep retaining your Seek Allies card. I do definitely think there are situations to do so when faction access is limited, but I honestly think if you're getting hold of fold space cards, or you're getting hold of like one of the initiates from the Talaxu row, you need to bin off Seek Allies as soon as physically possible, because otherwise you always have too much faction access, because at this cause it's the early game, you've only got 2 actions here, and you ain't going to be able to survive just hitting faction spaces. A lot of them need spies, there's a lot of competition, and Seek Allies can just get stuck in your hand doing absolutely nothing. So we use this immediately. I think we go straight to fold space, because again, no one's gone there. I'm like, what is happening in this game? So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go shipping in this one. I wasn't intending to do this, but okay. Paul Atreides goes to wealth with his Seek Allies, makes sense. No one's gonna access the Great Flat currently, but of course there's no spare spice there. Beast goes Swordmaster with his Signet Ring, because of course both his daggers are in his last hand, which is not ideal for him. That makes it difficult for him to get involved in the conflict. Helena smuggles with her Signet Ring, because she's like, well, I mean, I guess? I don't know what else I'm really going to do. Looking to pick off, I think, the Fopter. It's kind of tricky. Like, obviously, she wants to get hold of, like, Mahayam, but she probably can't afford it. Beast looking at my hand as I'm saying, yeah, I got a dagger. I got 9 strength. So she rips the road to try and find something better. Picks up in the shadows. I'm like, okay. So that gets peeled off. Liet Kynes turns up on the row as well. So, look, there's Row. Liet. Jamis is good. Long Reach is sitting there. Very scary row. Someone might blow it up just out of just pure terrifying. And then we Hardy Warriors to the conflict because we figure, well, we obviously need to get hold of the extra faction so we can Signet Ring soon. And if we just go Hardy Warriors and jam it in, there's nothing the Beast can do. Like, unless he goes Carfang and gets lucky, like, he just can't really beat us, so... Now, Paul Atreides goes for tech negotiation. I figured there was 2 reasons he was looking to do this. One, he obviously has eyes on the Ikines, because it is an awesome, awesome card for Paul. And 2, he clearly also has eyes on Holo Projectors. I talked about this a bit for Paul Atreides, but Holo Projectors is probably his best deck in the game. Because you know what you're drawing into, effectively, if you've got Holo Projectors, you've kind of got a pseudo extra card in your hand almost at all times, because you know what you can draw into, and you can effectively use that to give yourself more options. You know, Paul Atreides is the king of flexibility, and Holo Projectors is a massive, massive enabler of that, of, you know, being able to get that extra card whenever you need it. It's really, really important. So that's definitely of notice to me. The Beast does go to Carfag in the end, looking to see if he can find an intrigue to beat me for the Mentat. And, well, he either didn't find it or decided not to go for it, so... There was a bit of verbal from me, actually, in this game, you know, like Flash and, you know, saying, I've got a sword, or there's some stuff that happened later on. I don't know how much of an effect it did, but I was speaking a bit in this game for once. Helena, revealing for 4, grabbing in the shadows, 3 persuasion remaining. And I'm like, I would like Jamis, but I suspect Helena's probably taking Jamis here, because it's a pretty good card. And I think that's pretty much what she does pick here. I'm pretty sure she goes for Jamis, and she does. So, it comes to us on our reveal. We've got 3 persuasion. This is a hideous row for 3 persuasion. Chris Knife is not going to be good enough for us here. So, we decide to spin the wheel, make the deal. Also, again, I cannot let our poor Atreides have Liet Kynes. And this is the row we find here. And we have decisions to make. 3 persuasion. So... There's already thought about what I'm going to be doing ahead of time here, and I'm trying to think ahead to how I'm going to actually proceed to try and score points in this game. Paul Atreides obviously really wants Holo Projectors, and you can see there is an absolute bucket of unloading effects, which of course is another great enabler of Holo Projectors. So the idea was that I've got 3 persuasion. I can probably grab Voice and Charm Delegate, and if I can just ship up twice, I can go up twice and then up, down, and look to take Holo Projectors away from Paul Atreides, which is going to be a real Crimp and Cheesable's plan. I don't think he's going to be consistently fast enough to get there, and even if he does have the ability to get there, I can always draw Voice and block him from getting there, or at least charge in the maximum. He has got enough money, he could in theory get Spice and go Dreadnoughting, but of course Paul Atreides wants action economy, and as such he needs his Mentat, he needs his Swordmaster, because, you know, at the moment, Beast has got his, Lane's about to get theirs, I'm probably going to be next, so Paul Atreides is going to be kind of forced to make decisions what he's going to spend the money on, and he doesn't really want to spend on Dreadnoughts when the Beast is right after him and Helena is also in the game. It's a pretty terrifying prospect, so I do eye up Freighter Fleet as well. If I can again get hold of objects, that's pretty good, but I am a real sucker for the Voice, and I just think the Voice can do some really, really cool stuff and get you hold of you things that you would normally never be able to get hold of. So we end up going for the Charm Delegate, not so much for infiltrating shipping, but as much basically to unload for the money, so I can kind of get to Swordmaster faster, maybe take some Mentats away from Paul Atreides as well, and look to go from there. Paul reveals the 5, grabbing Pytut, great card for him. 6 actually, because of the tech negotiation. Beast revealing for 3. I think he grabs... oh yeah, he grabs the Imperial Shock Trooper, another offbeat pick here from Badger. I kind of like it actually though. Plenty of sword power. Beast is making it clear that he might well consider fighting the Emperor Alliance here. And of course, picking up wealth every now and again is not going to be bad. He has no resources, so wealth is going to be good. And, you know, and if you got wealth, that's +5 swords in a conflict. That's really, really good here. So do like that, but it's a risky one, of course. You've got to make sure that, you know, you are subject to timing. And at the moment, his deck, this is his only faction access cards, so there are some complications here. And that is a lie. The Beast does have the Imperial Spy, but that's only a one-time use. Anyways, combat resolves as per no one does anything. We pick up the Ixion Probe, which is a very useful card for us actually in the early game. Getting rid of daggers we don't need. It also means that we can accelerate our finding of stuff like Voice, like the Talaxi Master as well. Find them a little bit quicker, kind of just a little bit of a speed boost to our game, so that's going to be really, really good for us. Round 3 is Machinations, so plenty of faction influence to fight for. Beast very well set to target this with action economy in hand here, but no Mentat though, so he won't be going last, but he will have action economy on some folks. Helena's up first, so Helena is going to get hold of a Swordmaster. The only question is, does she go Wealth or does she go Smuggling? And she does opt for the Smuggling bump, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think I would do that probably most of the time. And we look at our hand here, and unfortunately, no faction except for us. Real problem. Good news, I've got Ixion Probe. It's not so bad. So we go for the probe, cycle out a couple of cards, looking for the faction access, because we've pulled Voice. So the immediate plan here is like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to look to go shipping. If I can get hold of Fold Space access, we hit Fold Space, and then I ship twice up. And if Pool Atreides threatens Holo Projectors, we block Tech Negotiation, say, if you want to buy it, you've got to buy a Dreadnought. And I know you do not want to do that. So we just threaten him with, like, the maximum price. But we've got to find the faction access. Do we find it? We do, mercifully. Thank goodness for that. Huge, huge result for us there. So it is Diplomacy to Full Space, getting the extra spice. We don't need convincing. We're not going to be buying a ton of cards this game, so I feel totally fine just ditching that off. And it's off to Cheesable here. So no Mentat, no prospect of getting Swordmaster. He's only got 2 actions here, so he indeed does go to the Imperial Basin for the free spice, setting up for Holo Projectors, which is totally reasonable. I don't think... Maybe he had something else in mind, potentially, but I'm pretty sure like he's doing that all day. Beast hits Still Suits, which makes sense. Getting hold of resources, putting troops in. It's a good conflict for Still Suits, 100%, so it makes logical sense. Swordmaster for Helena. And then we do indeed initiate the plan here. I was thinking, you know, is there a way I could use my experimentation? The only issue I've got with doing this, in the fear is, I'm like thinking, well, if I go shipping and block Tech Negotiation, what the heck am I doing with experimentation? Because I've got no water, and then this is blocked, and that's just a pretty ugly feeling. And I think about this for a little while, and I suddenly realized, wait, hold on a second. I don't have to do this. No one else is threatening shipping here. Moron. So we end up going to Carthag instead and using that to block. Gives us some entrance into this conflict, which I could use the water. And again, we can still block Tech Negotiation. Pick up to the Victor, which is not great for us. It's probably not going to be too good. But it's not too bad for us because I am Talaxi Mastering. So this is a potentially decent card for us to trash on the Intrigue Trash space up here later on in the game. Because I'm probably not going to get use out of that with Beast in this one, laying to my right. I'm not doing a lot of conflict, so we put the dudes in, and we make the block and Tech Negotiation. Cheesable doesn't enjoy it, because there must have been the move, because then there's a lengthy delay as he thinks about it, and he does definitely consider, does he go Holo Projectors via going Dreadnought? And I don't know what the correct answer is here. I think it's definitely an option, and I don't hate it. But the problem is Hagar Basin is also sitting there with 4 spice for 1 water. And if you don't grab it, one of the other 2 surely are, because they both have no spice. So there is a decent chance to kind of just get a load of resources here. Maybe use this for some highliner. Maybe you go conspiring yourself to kind of get through to your Swordmaster. There's some interesting choices here. But clearly that was the consideration. He could also maybe go High Council, but with no great cards in the row, it doesn't feel too great. And I think if he High Councils, how is he ever getting his Swordmaster in this game? I don't really know. So he does opt for Hagar Basin, getting the 4 spice, which is good for me. Means I'm going to get some more out of this conflict minimum, maybe a couple of coins as well. And we've managed to keep Pool Atreides away from from Holo Projectors, which is great because that's going to be a good card for us, and it's a better card for him. Beast Arakeens with his ring. He puts the dudes in as you would expect. He does put in a 3rd one, I think. No, he didn't. Huh. A 4th one. I thought he did, but I guess not. I guess at this point, he now had a combat intrigue of some kind, I'm guessing, but I don't entirely know. Oh, he's got another action behind, so he doesn't need to worry about that. Sorry, my bad, everyone. So Helena goes to Secrets, which I don't hate. I would have considered going Wealth again, you know, making a push for the Emperor Alliance. Now is a good time to do so. And again, the money's good. You can use that to try to target Mentat, keep it away from Paul Atreides, because of course he's going to get hold of that. You've got his Swordmaster already, so there's a chance to go for that there. And we obviously go shipping, the double up, and I don't know where exactly we are on, and that's our first bump on the research there, so that's great. We're not really going to be buying any more Talaxu cards unless something special comes up on the row. Pretty much everything he's going towards beetles. I am planning going the distance and going for everything, going for both Talaxu points. It's a tough ask, because of course while Talaxu Master does rush you across the road faster, that's hardly a guarantee that you're going to pick up both Talaxu points. And the problem is as well is that even if the best case scenario is you pick up like 5 beetles on the row, and that requires spending money, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that much money. I've not got my Swordmaster. I might be doing some Mentat stealing occasionally, so my money's going to be committed elsewhere, so I'm going to have to find some extra ways to try and pick up some of these tax points if I decide to go for it. So it's a bit of a stretch, but I figure I might be able to make it work here. It's early doors. I can kind of keep it in mind. Paul Atreides reveals for free, takes a liaison, which is always fine. We just get a tech negotiation for Beast, nothing else to do. His combat is safe. Obviously, at this point now, the Machinations is out. It's obviously not good for me. It means I'm not going to get that much uncontested shipping, but it's obviously a concern. Interesting that Helena reveals Interscale the conspiracy here. Doesn't actually use it herself. It's a little bit strange. You think she'd want the spice. I guess was eyeing up some reveal, and then it went. I don't know. Interesting that they decided not to use. They decided to not use the spice. They have no way of getting hold of the rough bump at the moment. They're looking for cards to enable that, but there we go. We reveal by nothing for about the 5th time. So I looked at my discard pile. So I was like, let's go have a look, see what's in there, because I don't know. And the Beast picks up a Treachery with his 6. Very scary. That's obviously a pretty uncomfortable. It's a pretty uncomfortable card to see about here, and there's a lot of concern. He's going to use it obviously to try and hit a alliance. Combat resolves. No one plays anything, which is fine with me. I get the Warrior End to Solari, which is good for us. I'm not against this. The resources will be handy for a couple of troops, and he takes his B bumps with the spacing, which is obvious, and he does go Emperor, I think. Or does he go Fremen? I can't quite recall. Oh, it's Fremen I think he takes in the end. Which is kind of strange. Oh, he does go Emperor. Okay. And it's kind of strange here. I feel like I was kind of wondering, well, why doesn't Badger just jam for an alliance? He kind of decided to play kind of a little more spread out this game, which is a little unusual. I was thinking, has he pulled plans within plans early? But surely you just hit an alliance anyways, so a little strange, but there we go. So action starts on this round 4. Siege of Carthage is the conflict. We're not really ever getting involved in this here. But we do pull the cards to make the magic happen here. We are intending to get hold of Horde Projectors. It can't be stopped now. And we go for it here with the Signet Ring ship. This is, again, further bad news for Paul Atreides. Not what he wanted to see here, but there was, you know... I don't know. Do you go for Horde Projectors or do you go for the Hagabase and Spice? I think it's very close. I don't think either's that bad here. So, Horde Projectors taken. We disregard that bump because I don't know what the heck we're doing there. We take the bump with the Fremen to get our second snooper open so we can get hold of the second water, which is good because that means we now have access to Great Flat and we're threatening this. No one else is there. We then immediately drop the Hardy Warriors to go for the Bene Gesserit, which is an alliance I'm eyeing up here. I figure out of the 4 alliances here, you could easily just go for spacing, but Bene Gesserit is the one I'm probably targeting. A bit scary because, of course, Helena does have you in the shadows on our right here, but I think I've got enough firepower to get over the line more often than not. I'm also thinking she's got no spice, so she's going to be struggling to challenge selective breeding. Paul Atreides goes for High Council, sacking the Swordmaster, and also sacking Mentat as well. Another brave call here. Paul Atreides clearly looking to just try and get over the line with brute force and spice must flows. You know, it's a brave option, and I think this could definitely backfire, but I don't entirely hate it. Beast Imperial spies it to Wealth, which makes sense. He's got to do that. Very possibly he has Shock Trooper in hand, so that's not good news for Helena. And she is up here. She goes smuggling to cash in the bump because it's about time she did that. which isn't great for me, but it's also not that bad for me either. So we're eyeing up going Mentat and Swordmaster this round. The idea being I want to cycle through the rest of my hand here, and then have a clean draw for the next round. The only problem is I've got 2 cards, and one of them is I'm trying to remember what it is. I think one was the other dagger, and the other I think was like my experimentation card. I can't quite recall off the top of my head. So we end up going. So we take the Mentat. Oh, it was my face dancer shit. Of course it was. My apologies. So we grab the face dancer here. So we got to be a little bit careful here to make sure that we don't draw everything here at all, because of course that could be a concern. Helena ends up just going for spice anyways, which is interesting, and I didn't expect that. I was thinking she was going to take money one more time to go for High Council. So Paul Atreides just conspires, because now he's in a situation where he's not even being given Slari on the side. He's just got to brute force his Swordmaster. So his action economy really, really suffering in this one. Conspire's not bad for Paul anyways. The intrigue's good for him. A couple of troops on the side's pretty nice. But it's not a nice spot for Paul Atreides currently. You're really kind of getting pushed on a lot of quarters. Beast techs and goes for the wind traps. Again, this is twofold or a reason. One, to challenge Great Flat, because it's kind of wondering what the heck I'm doing. And maybe sometimes he gets the Great Flat. And also, of course, he's looking to win a lot of conflicts and use the water to kind of really drive his economy and drive a lot of action. Wind Trap's a very, very fun card for Beast here. Helena intercepts Hardy Warriors first, though. And this is Beast me. Yeah, so Badger looked at my deck there. I'm like, say, I got no swords, and you should be worrying about yellow and not me. Because he's looked at me, just this yellow Hardy Warriors here. And I'm just like, I got nothing. Don't worry about me, buddy. So we cycle away the Charmed Delegate to get our experimentation card, in the hope that maybe we get to Great Flat Steel. I guess me doing Mentat Swordmaster was definitely not necessary, but I just felt like kind of having a bit of fun expressing myself. And I guess with the card draw, like, it wasn't even that necessary. It's going to end up just playing Fold Space and not even going for the card draw. So, but I was just having a bit of fun and enjoying myself, really. Paul Atreides reveals for 9, going for the spice, so he's just spice must find buying already, which maybe feels slightly like desperation. Maybe not, but there you go. Beast does indeed take the Great Flat Spice, which isn't ideal for me, but what you're going to do. But my backup is I've got Face Dancer Initiate and Experimentation, and I probably just send them to, like, Secrets, or maybe even Still Suits if I can get there. It's not a bad conflict for Still Suits. Get extra water. The water can, of course, be used for Research Station to again, try to get extra power for Talaxi Master, see it more often. Power my way through this research track. Usually a good idea. And I can get a bonus spice on the side as well. Helena, Carfags, and, of course, arming up here for some fun and games. Unfortunately, I don't have access to Secrets with Feast on Initiate, which is a shame. I'm like, ugh. So that sucks. Helena finds the Beetle Bump, making a push towards the Talaxi bonus spice here, but no, until she researches, she's not going to be able to claim that, so not quite there yet, and we go for the Stills. Again, this is why I picked up Face Artist Initiate. It's just a nice enabler of experimentation in places where normally you wouldn't want to really use it because there's no bonus spice or shipping to be done. So it's just a nice way of, if you're not going for spiceless flow strats, of just kind of getting those research bumps on the side. Always good. Beast does indeed reveal the Shock Trooper for 5 swords, as expected. So again, like, he was looking at me, I'm like, don't worry about me, buddy. I'm not involved. Helena ties it, though, dagger-wise. So they're at 9 apiece here. I'm thinking, oh, that could be interesting stuff going here. We reveal the Talaxi Master for a couple of bumps. So again, the plan is for the Talaxi Master here, is basically, I don't have a zoom in here, unfortunately, so the plan is basically to go down. We then, because we know we've got so much firepower and research, we're going to go up to trash cards, because we need to start doing some trashing so we can see it more often. When you've got, like, Talaxi Master, you don't need to worry about these extra bumps on the sides. You can just brute force the middle, so it's going to be down, up, and then I'm probably going down, up, down is the probable path I'm taking. Again, don't really need to take this extra bump here. And if I am looking to go for all the points here and go all 7 jumps on the Talaxu track, I'm going to need all the help I can get here. And that means, that includes specimens. So I would rather take the extra bump and get the specimen rather than the extra spice, which is going to do a whole lot for me in the end of the day. So it's up twice. We get to trash the dagger, up again. gives us an intrigue. We pick up Disguised Bureaucrat, which is, in theory, a great card for us because we're going to be able to... We know we're going to get to the end of the track here with the Talaxu Master, so we know we're going to get a wild bump somewhere. This is going to be very useful. So we enter combat. I, say I'm just taking the spice and calling it a day. Beast uses the strategic push in order to edge ahead here. And Helena decides she's going to go pretty heavy here. Goes with the blackmail. Really, really powerful mid-game combat card. 5 swords for the bump. It's usually going to win you a lot of conflicts here, and it does indeed do the case as well. Taking the combat down. This is a bad news for Beast, who wanted to use his Shock Trooper to get over the line here for cheap. But Helena managed to take it out with the blackmail and getting herself a hold of Savfk, which is great for her because, of course, when there is Helena in the game, city spaces always do have a little bit of extra value because they're just going to get seen more often. So round 5 it is, and it is the shipping conflict here, which is kind of a curious one. Again, we're the only person that's really doing a lot of shipping at the moment. No one else. It's round 5, only one person that has access into shipping, which is very unusual in this game that just continues to be really quirky here. And quirky it remains. So, Paul Atreides picks up, goes for wealth here. With his Crenogenes. Again, it's kind of sitting there not doing a whole lot, but again, he can finally get access to Swordmaster. It's about damn time, right? Wow. I might have drawn the voice again. Beast finds the Ferrum bump here, and then more strangeness happens here. And this gets very curious very, very quickly. So Beast now has potential to take 2 alliances here. And it's going to be kind of hard to stop on either of them at this moment in time. And I was probably expecting just to follow up with, like, Hardy Warriors. Or Conspire. And he goes Fold Space. Which is, I get, like, someone's got to do something about instant shipping. And then he decides not to, and he smuggles. And it's like, what are you really doing here? And he eventually goes for Fold Space, which is interesting. So he doesn't opt to go Highliner to get hold of water and get troops back into his garrison so he can challenge more conflicts. He doesn't go Conspire, to take the Alliance, get a load of troops in his conflict. I know the money, I guess he's not doing a ton with, but the extra intrigue might be useful. But not be able to shift any. Doesn't go Steel Suits just to get the 2 water. Goes Fold Space, which seemed a bit of a passive move. Just like kind of obligatory, I guess someone's got to stop me going shipping all the time. But I don't feel like it was doing the best for Badger. I just feel like Highliners is definitely risky. And you've got to wonder how you're going to get that spice back, I guess. But I would have thought I'd have seen that more often than not here. Maybe he was saving up the spice for just highlighting it at nowhere later on. I'm not entirely sure. But I guess if anyone's going to stop me going shipping, it's kind of got to be Beast here. So it feels like a bit of a side move. So Helena goes smuggling with her Signet Ring. Has to pull the card aside. Stilgar looks pretty good given the row. And I like the move here. And then it comes to us. And so I'm getting concerned with the fact that Cheesable is starting to build up this Spice Must Flow economy going. But I know that he's still struggling for actions. And it's a real problem for him trying to muster the action economy. And that's something you got to do with the voice. If you've got action economy with the voice, you want to generally try to use it to deny other people action economy. I would have considered getting a hold of Mentat. Obviously, I now can't because shipping's being challenged. But this is the beauty of the voice, that I can go shipping and I can still cause problems here. So we do ship the voice, and after a bit of consideration, I do end up blocking up tech negotiation here. Just to continue being a thorn in Paul Atreides' side. Just slow him down. If he starts just accelerating through Spice Must Flow by, that's going to be a problem here. If he wants to go Mentat, he can definitely go Mentat, but then again, he's still kind of struggling to find the access to the Swordmaster here. So, little bits of issue here. But the thing is, I'm like, what else could they possibly target here? Like, I don't have to go for Cheesable. I could go for anyone else, but it's really hard to think of what else I would do here. Like, I would have thought Beast would have already gone Conspiring or Fremen, but he didn't, which was strange. Helena does have Jamis, which is blocked by voice, but again, they've both got 2 actions here. Cheesable, with only having 1 action, makes him a real prime candidate for being voiced, because his options are kind of limited and forced towards card drawing here, so a little bit unfortunate for Cheesable, I suppose, but it's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. Like, the person on your left is the person with least action economy, and you got voice. it's a fairly easy target for disrupting their plans pretty majorly here. So tech negotiation gets blocked. It feels like it's like the second or third time I've blocked him here. He decides he's not going to Mentat, which is good for me because there are worlds I would like to get hold of it. Just goes Basin, continues researching. It's really ugly for him. He puts the troop in. Can't feel too good about the situation. Yeah, it's a bad place for Paul Atreides to be. Beast Raban thinks that he's Tesia Vernius by sending his experimentation to faction spaces. He goes off the secrets, which is never a bad spot, I don't think. Again, preserving the spice, which is very interesting. So I'm thinking he's trying to keep hold of it, either for conspiring, which I thought I would already have done, or he is protecting it for some Highlander action next round. Anyways, a little bit curious. I'm trying to suss out what exactly he's doing. Again, standardly, you should just get the alliance going so you can get your ring up and running. But it kind of wasn't really happening here. And the faction stuff started doing really strangely in this game, which was slightly my fault as well. Helena does go Jamis, as you would expect, trashing her shipping card in the process so that she can get the shipping on the way, and she looked to challenge this conflicted trade monopoly. Definitely concerned about me going into this fairly heavily, which makes sense. I would be concerned about that too. But with the hand specifically that I've drawn, I'm not doing any conflict. She does make a push on the Bene Gesserit though. I'm like, that's not great, and I can't say I'm a big fan of that because it is an alliance that I'm looking to go for. All things I could definitely go for spacing, and maybe I should go for spacing, but we don't. Anyways, we fold out the Choam Delegate. We find the dagger, which is awesome, because I am eyeing up going Mentat, which I'm pretty sure I go and do. I just look to see, is there anything else I want to do here? And I was like, I've got water on everyone. I can always get my experimentation somewhere. So we draw the next card. Pulling our other experimentation. Ugh, that's not what I wanted to see. I'm like, oh, great. City access, faction access. Pretty much anything but the other experimentation. So I'm like, well, I guess that's cool. It does mean I'm going to get to the end of the research track this round, though, so I guess that's nice. Paul Atreides reveals for 5, by the way. Just picking up... did he pick up 2 liaisons? He does indeed. So, yeah, Cheesable is just not quite playing solitaire at the moment, but definitely looking to engage. That's why he kept the spice there. There's the treachery. We know he grabbed it earlier, so that's him grabbing hold of the Spacing Alliance. So again, kind of suspect that he was not going into it earlier. My justification was right. Goes in fairly heavy here, feeling like he's got it again, get all the shipping away. You know, those 2 bombs are going to be pretty useful for whoever gets it. So putting in 5 dudes and saying to Helena, do you want to retort here? You know, I'm the one with the intrigues, not you. And after a bit of a think, Helena brings out her dagger and she goes dreadnoughting. And she's like, all right then, Beast. I suppose you can win this conflict, but I'm going Dreadnought, and I'm going Training Drones, and I'll see you on the battlefield in 2 rounds. So I'm like, okay. And this is, again, one of the reasons why they pulled Atreides earlier, that I don't think he wanted to go Dreadnought, because he was seeing this situation sort of developing between these two. It's like, do you want a piece of this? I don't want a piece of this. It's pretty ugly. So, you know, kind of playing on that a little bit there. So, Helena is arming up for the future, and it's kind of scary. But again, I'm not really going to be fighting a lot in this one anymore, so I'm happy about it. So I'm pretty much resigned to just doing double mining here. It's not great, especially at Great Flat. Feels kind of bad, but I've got to get this research done ASAP. If I want any chance of getting hold of the second Talaxu point, I've just got to get going. And there are also worlds now, because Beast is revealed, and he can't get hold, or he hasn't got hold of the extra spice there. And unless Helena has got research here, or both her experimentations, she's not getting to this here. So we can actually probably pick up the extra bonus spice as well. So that's a handy little bonus for me to make my life at Great Flat a little bit better. So the Beast reveals for 3. He rips the road trying to find something useful and doesn't. So he ends up skipping the buy. And then Helena reveals for 6. Now, she clearly was after Stilgar originally, but Opulence has turned up on the row, and that's pretty attractive. Considering that she's kind of got half an eye on the Emperor Alliance as well, there's a lot of potential to try and get an extra point out of that. And, you know, people see victory points, people are going to want that. Stilgar is a great card, don't get me wrong. And again, I think it's pretty close. She could buy it for 4, but there's nothing great for the other 2, really. And he doesn't need Fremen Bond at all, so I think Opulence makes sense. It keeps it away from everyone else, keeps it away from, like, me as well. If I get out of Opulence, that's pretty frightening. So, grabs that in the end. We go to the basin. the Great Flat, as mentioned. We don't get involved in the conflict, don't need to. But we get the bonus 2 spice here, which is handy. And then, as mentioned earlier, with To the Victor, it's probable fodder for trashing here, which is exactly what we do. So we scrap that out to draw. We find bribery. Now, the fun begins. We get our 5th bump here, and that's me saying I'm going for it. So now we have another big decision to make. I've got bribery, and I've got disguised bureaucrat. Now, this is 2 bumps on the spot. Now, what do you do with these? And there's some options. Let's look at the factions, and I guess, and review them. So the Emperor, I could take 3 bumps. But I wouldn't be using it yet. I'd be waiting to go into a conflict situation so I can get the extra troops in and throw them in. And I could definitely do that, but am I going to win the Emperor Alliance that often? It's going to be difficult. Elena's got Opulence. She's going to hit that. Beast does have some advantage in that track, but he's struggling for faction access a little bit. So, it's going to be a little tricky here. Space Alliance, I heavily considered, because Beast is threatening to run away with 3 alliances here. And that is definitely a worry. And so spacing is something I could challenge, and it's going to be uncomfortable for Beast to defend it, because he basically has to go to fold space next round to defend that, and he doesn't really want to go there, so that's an option. The Fremen, I could just take 2 bumps and just take the alliance ahead, and that's definitely an option. But again, I'm like thinking, how often am I actually going to get hold of this alliance here? And then I'm at the Bene Gesserit, and I can get 2 bumps, which is actually 3 bumps there, and just take it. So I talked about this in the game a bit. I don't have that commentary for you, but I kind of talked about a little bit about, like, I think Badger deserves a win sort of thing, which was kind of true. But what I was also banking on here, which was a bit brave, I was kind of going to table meta a little bit here, and the idea was I was thinking, well, if I go for the Bene Gesserit alliance here, and I take it away from Helena, which is risky, she could definitely take it, but the Beast is sitting with 3 alliances with limited faction access, the table is going to feel compelled to stop the Beast because he's just going to win the game, and he's also going to struggle to defend, so I might actually be able to take the Bene Gesserit alliance away from Helena, and Helena feel forced to not actually go for me, but go for the Emperor alliance, and that's what I was playing on here. I was trying to, like, get it out of her reach before she takes it, because it's an easy take for her and she goes something else. If I jump in front here, I can actually take it away and basically get the table to gang up on the Beast here a little bit, especially me and Sunny, and look to stop the Beast. Because if we don't stop the Beast, he just wins. So the table kind of has to stop him. A little risky. I wouldn't suggest doing this very often. This could very easily backfire. But A, I was playing Cesi Verniers, and B, I felt like having some entertainment on the table. And I thought, I could just go Fremen. It's a bit boring. If I go for the Bene Gesserit here, I get the extra intrigue, which is always nice. And it just makes the table really spicy and makes it kind of hard to predict what's going to happen. And Tezi's got a lot of faction flexibility. And I've got that, because I've got my Diplo. I've got the whatever you want to call it, the face dancer initiate as well. So it gives me loads of faction flexibility, which no one else really has. They've got cards that get to factions, but they don't have a lot of option in where they send them. So after plenty of a thing and plenty of a tank, we go for it. We go Bene Gesserit, saying to Beast, all right, you can have 3 faction alliances, buddy. Good luck defending those in 2 rounds. Real brave move. Probably not the right move, and I imagine some of the comments are going to say I'm a complete idiot, and you know what? Maybe I am, but it's the decision we made, and we went for it. We pick up Private Army as our intrigue, which is not a bad find for us, actually. This could be pretty good in, like, round 7 to, like, get a 2nd place instead of a 3rd, something like that. That could be pretty nice. If it's like economic supremacy, this might well get us a victory point. Very possible. I think I forget to give myself the spice from economic, from bureaucrat as well, and I did forget to give myself the bonus spice. I should be at 10, not 9. That's my miss. Oh well. Common resolves, as per, no one does anything. Beast does take it down. Helena getting hold of 2nd place. And Paul Atreides picking the intrigue for 3rd, which makes sense. And we move on. Buckets of fact checks. I'm like, oh man. And this is the thing. This is why I felt sort of remotely justified to go for this. Because, like, I've got loads of faction access and all sorts of stuff I can do. No one else really has that, and if Beast just takes this alliance and this alliance, everyone has to stop the Beast, not me, so I can try and fly under the radar a little bit. And again, it just seemed more interesting, you know? Anyways, round 6, Desert Power, Victory Point. Beast does indeed ship. Beast still does not have... he gets his shipping in, I should say, for the last time. He's probably never going to ship again. Paul Atreides has his money for Swordmaster. He's finally going to be allowed it if I can't block it. He should probably just get Mentat though where possible, which I think is what he ends up doing. Goes for the Sonic Snoopers because it makes sense. I think a lot of what he's got's pretty decent anyways. So here's the Fremen bump, which he should definitely take. So there's alliance number 2. And, you know, I'm kind of just letting the table see what's happening and kind of waiting for the table to jump and to try and take advantage of what's about to happen here, which is kind of how it plays out a little bit here. Helena's up. Helena feels that she's got to get this victory point. It's pretty important to get this away from the Beast here. Beast looking very dangerous at this point. So she decides, okay then. She goes secrets to steal from the Beast and obviously to pick up 2. So she's getting +3 intrigues in this. This is not good for me because I'm like, oh god, I need to get this alliance for this plan to work here. I am fully prepared though to go selective with Fold Space, draw 3 cards. If I can get a Spice Must Flow here, that would be absolutely awesome. It's going to be difficult to get a Spice Must Flow here, but, you know, I might find some interesting stuff. And besides, Shaik Alud's up there on the row. I might end up going for that instead. You never know. Let's draw some cards and see what we do here. But Spice Must Flow, definitely, if I can pull Talaxian Master, get some extra card draw, that would be great. So we're going for kind of a bit of a speculative draw. We pretty much flip absolute Jin here for reveal and the Talaxian Master. So about as good as a draw out of that as I could really have ever expected. So Spice Must Flow looks pretty likely. We've currently got a reveal of 9 plus 2 to come out there. So, you know, both my daggers are out, which is great. As you can see here from my deck when I'm culling out. And as you can see from my deck here, talking a little bit about kind of Spice Must Flow theory here, the idea is that that's what I've got to draw, and so pretty much every single card here that I would draw on a selective breed or a research station is good for Spice Must Flow buying or getting my Talaxian point. The only 2 cards that aren't good for that is Chome Delegate, which I guess I could infiltrate shipping if I get it, or Recon, which obviously isn't doing a whole lot, but I've got Holo Projectors, and that's the great thing with Holo Projectors. If you're going the Spice Must Flow strategy, is Holo Projectors really helps to mitigate when your draw is not quite good enough. And you can, instead of getting like that sort of 7 or 8 persuasion, you're like, oh, for God's sake, I had to draw my Recon now. I can just cycle out and redraw, and I've got half my deck, which is worth at least 2 persuasion, if not more in the case of the Talaxian Master. So again, getting hold of Holo Projectors with Talaxian Master is just really, really nice combination. So if you do get a kind of a weird draw, you can recycle, draw again, and try to mitigate as much damage as possible. Because ultimately there is a bit of variance and a bit of luck in drawing Spice Flows, unless you've got like a deck of like 8 cards. In which case, you know you're going to get it pretty consistently, but there's of course other issues there. Also, going set to breeding, again, keeps me in front of this alliance here, which kind of puts it out of Helena's reach. Really hard for it to really justify getting hold of this properly. And we still have our 6 slice for going for Great Flat. I am 100% at this point considering highlining Great Flat here. And it is a huge consideration. The reason for that is because I've got my ring. And what I can look to do is take the bump at wealth, and then I can go highline with the ring, get the bump here, drop it immediately, send it into the Emperor, and then I can just spend everything into the conflict here for 16 strength. Now, is 16 strength actually going to win this conflict? And I'm looking at it and thinking, you know what? It might not actually win. But again, it's kind of playing into this kind of idea that the Beast is looking really, really strong here. And I know that the Beast is not only looking at this conflict, but he's also looking at the next conflict as well. And he kind of wants to win this and the next one. So my theory is, if I just throw absolutely everything into this, even if I don't win, and I charge the Beast the absolute maximum, it's firepower he doesn't have for the next conflict, and then yellow can look to try and take advantage of that, beat the Beast basically on my behalf, and then I use the chaos between those two and all the to then start targeting one of the Beast alliances basically. So I am longboarding this, again very risky. If Beast just wins this pretty easily and then wins the next one pretty easily, obviously that's a disaster, but what are you gonna do? Paul Atreides, Strong Arms Fold Space, really good card for him to find that. that real bonus, so there's a nice useful point from there. Beast research stations, which he does with the ring, pretty standard. Again, he's going to throw in here. And that's the other thing as well. If I go a Highliner here, and I'm going to have a load of water to research station, again with intentions of possibly Spiceless Flow buying, maybe even going Great Flat in order to like conspire or something crazy, go back to selective breeding, you know, give me a bit of flexibility. But yeah, I'm fully prepared at this point to charge. Again, the only issue is I don't know if I'm going to win this point, because if I do Highline, I can't pay for Private Army. I don't have the spice for it. That is a problem. I should have the spice for it, because I should have taken the extra spice from Disguised Bureaucrat, but I completely forgot. So, you know, in a way, it's probably a good thing that it turned out how it did, actually. So yeah, Beast goes research station. He's got water to throw around. He might as well do so. He's got to get in there before Helena goes research, which is very possible. Helena at this point has got to decide whether she wants a piece of this conflict, or she's just going to wait for the next round. Of course, she is first to act next round, but unfortunately, there's no real way to get hold of 6 spice here in order to just highline straight away. It's not something that's really in her realm here, which is a bit of a problem. She also is obviously concerned about the Bene Gesserit alliance and does kind of pseudo want to try and keep me away from that, so she ends up smuggling, which I think is reasonable. It stops you from getting there. I was kind of half considering smuggling, but not really with my hand here. It's not that great for me. Again, my heart is pretty much set on Wealth Highliner here and just go all in and charge the absolute maximum for Beast, thinking that I can cycle out Recon, and I'm probably at least getting the Spiceless Flow point here. So we are going to accumulate here. So Wealth it is. No one was ever blocking Wealth either. Everyone had got their point here, so I was pretty confident to do that. Paul goes Mentatting with a Signet Ring. Makes sense. I would do that. You don't need to get a Swordmaster, realistically. Uses his dagger for it instead, which, you know, is fine. So Badger goes in the tank a little bit here, wondering how to proceed here. Ends up pulling out the Forward Space card and going for Steel Suits or Hardy Warriors. He figures it's kind of a weird spot for BC. He's kind of got like a move to do something with, but he doesn't really know what he wants to do with it. He obviously wants to protect the Alliance, and is notable the fact that 2 players have no water. So I don't hate going Steel Suits, but I think I probably would have just gone Hardy Warriors to arm up. But again, the other issue with that is that his bowl's empty. And what the Beast wants to do is he wants to reveal his experimentation card to get hold of his Talaxi points. So Hardy Warriors doesn't really help him at all. So he's kind of forced into Steel Suits. He's going to have loads of water. He's going to have like 5 water if he wins this conflict, which is not really helping him, being really honest, at this point in the game. He's never going to make enough use out of that, truth be told. So, a little bit awkward for Badger, I suppose. But, you know, that's kind of the way it goes here now. And that's the only thing you've got to be careful. When you're going really heavy with combat dudes into here, that has impact on the Talaxi track. So if you're still trying to chase points here, you will sometimes have to make options and decisions that you don't really want to. Helena redraws. She's got loads of intrigues to get through, which she is trying to work out. Obviously, Secrets is not open right now, but it's a concern later on here. Now, another interesting decision here. She plays in the shadows. Now, you would normally think that you would look to do is probably just reveal in the shadows and then just get hold of the Bene Gesserit bump next hand. But I think this was a mix of 2 things. I think this was a mix of Helena didn't actually have a reliable way to get to the Bene Gesserit next hand. So she didn't think she was ever going to take the Alliance. And again, as I'd mentioned earlier, we're in this position right at this moment. The Beast has 3 alliances. And as much as Helena might want to play a bit of Solitaire, maybe, sort of thing, and just get hold of Spiceless Flows, you got to read the board state. And the board state says the Beast is about to win this game, and you've got in the shadows, you probably got to do something about it here. The Emperor is sitting fairly vulnerable. And I'm fairly likely to go for another one of his alliances there. So there's an opportunity for me and Helena to kind of team up here and try and take the Beast back down. And that's just the way it games out. And again, this is what I played for in the end. I long gamed it for exactly this situation to come about here, and hoping that Helena decides that rather than fighting me benches, because she could definitely fight me for the Bene Gesserit, but then Beast just wins. So it's kind of in her best benefit to not do this and go for something else here. There's also worlds where maybe she just does have the double. She has an extra research bump in hand, and she can get hold of this and just take the Bene Gesserit Alliance again. but it's not really helping us. You know, us two fighting in midst of each other. The Beast's got 3 alliances. He just protects them. He just wins the game. So, so she ends up doing this. In the Shadows comes out, and she does indeed start going, cycling out cards. She takes the Fremen bump in the end here. So kind of not committal. Maybe expecting me to go for the Emperor Alliance because I haven't got my Snoopy yet, perhaps? I don't know. Perhaps that's how it's playing out here. But very notable that Helena did not reveal for the Bene Gesserit bump there. And it was talked about on the table as well that Cheesable was really surprised that they went for In the Shadows. But I was basically playing for exactly this situation to come out. So I felt a little bit... and she was like, "What? Just go for the Bene Gesserit Alliance." And then we were like, "Well, if we do, what happens? Beast wins." So it wasn't really a benefit to do so. So we cycle out Recon for the next card here. We pick up Voice, which is absolutely awesome. Again, I've got so many 2 Persuasion cards here to target here. So we've got 7 Persuasion plus the 2 for Talactic Master. So very likely to get Spiceman's Flow if I go for the Highlander Signet play, which is exactly what we do. And we figure this is part of the plan. Even if I don't win this conflict, because I don't honestly believe I can win this conflict, by charging the absolute maximum of the Beast now, we stunt his ability to get points later on in the game. And that is going to buy me the time and the cover that we need in order to target the alliances and try and actually take this one back at the death. Again, super risky. This could definitely not work. And this is kind of just the game plan. Like, I just basically decided, you know, this is how we're going to approach this game. I'm going to effectively just say, you know, I need 8 rounds to win this game, so I'm going to play for this to end in 8 rounds. If it ends sooner, I'm dead. And I have to win this game in order to proceed here. So I've got to try and set the table up as best as I can in a way to stop the Beast here and just slow him down and just cause as much damage as possible, basically, so I can try and reap the rewards later on. Beast reveals for a load of swords, you can see here. And again, at this point, Beast has very little faction access. So I know that the Emperor Alliance is very vulnerable, and we can look to take this down here. Helena reveals for, what's that, 6? I think it's 6 Persuasion. I think she goes for Chani here, just for the water supply and the 2 reveal. You know, she's got nothing else to do. Unfortunately, does not get the money together for Opulence, which is unfortuitous. She's, I guess, hoping to smuggle later and be able to cash in the money to pay for Opulence later on, but she's got to draw it, which is not a guarantee. We reveal, and we peel off, again, a pretty good draw here. We not only find the Spice of Flow, which is pretty much guaranteed, but we do peel off the Tromdelic as well, which is nice. Bit of extra money, so we're like, cool. So we get our 7th point here. Tying up the Beast here. So it's all pretty close. Paul Atreides reveals for just the 8. But went to negotiation earlier, so has the 9 for his second Spice Must Flow, and is in good shape here. Beast wins it, of course. I'd already taken my money before he played his intrigues, and it was coming. But again, we had done what we needed to do. We weren't trying to win this. We were trying to just cause maximum damage. And now we've just got to hope. This is the only part of the game that I can't control. I need to hope that the situation arises for me to take advantage of. And that Helena wins this next conflict, or it's Grand Vision, in which case it would still be useful if Helena wins the next conflict here. And I figure we've tried to cripple Beast, so hopefully Helena wins this next conflict. And, well, our faith is rewarded. As we go to Maker's Recall, and we go to the next round, and very unfortunately for the Beast, it is indeed Grand Vision. The curveball begins. And yeah, obviously this is the great conflict for me. This is pretty much perfect. It means that we can probably stall for a round, which gives me the time I require. But again, even if it was a victory point conflict, like, Helena's still got good chances to win this anyways, because now she's the one with all the intrigues, and Beast is the one who's kind of struggling for firepower here. So, you know, a little fortunate, maybe, but I did play for this situation, you know, and again, if it had been economic, it's a disaster. As long as it's not economic, I feel pretty confident this is going 8 rounds, which is just the time that we require. And Grand Vision made certain of it, and also in a way actually made this this conflict very funky. So again, we're still in this situation where the Beast has 3 alliances, but of course they're looking more and more kind of tenuous as we go. Lots of fun happening here. And of course, this is bad for him because he can't really score from this at all. This can only be bad for him. And it's the usual case, you know, if you're the faction leader and this comes off, it's bad times for you. You've got problems. So Helena again has a decision of what she wants to do. She cannot go instead of conspiracy. So she's like, well, what do we do here? How do we approach this? She's already kind of earlier said she wasn't going to go for selective. And the thing is, like, again, if Beast finds 2 victory points, the game's just over at this point. So, and he might be able to do that. You know, if he gets hold of Spice, that's 9. And if he goes to the Bene Gesserit, that's 10. Selective breeding looks like an absolute perfect spot for her here. So that's obviously very concerning. But Helena can't stop it. And I can't stop it because I haven't drawn it. So I'm like, oh no, this could be an issue. So Helena thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks. She goes Mentat, which is good for me. That tells me that she's going for this conflict here, and she's going to use Grand Vision to try and take an alliance here. But of course, my Bene Gesserit alliance is just kind of sitting there like, oh god, can't say I'm a fan of that. So we go to Research Station first because I figure, well, I wasn't sure if Beast was going to go instead of Conspiracy here, instead of shipping. But I also think, well, if he goes shipping, does it really matter? Because I don't think he's ever going to really cash it in, and he needs to do actions on the board itself. He can't really stall anymore. He's in real trouble because of this conflict. So I figure I can go research stations first, which, of course, he also wants to do. He's got 5 water, so it's another way of just hindering him. I've got to stop him scoring Spiceless Flow Point if I can possibly help it. So we get the research station draw pretty decently. We find our diplomacy card. Good. Just what we're looking for here. Paul Atreides goes Arakeen with Liaison. Always interesting to see Paul Atreides go Arakeen with Liaison, because it means he clearly wants what else he's got here. And here we go. This is the key moment. So, as mentioned, Beast needs to find 2 points. And his way of finding 2 points is to go selective breeding and get Spice plus Flow. And if he can just hold on, he wins the game. Problem. Selective breeding, he has to trash a card. Problem is only he has nothing in his discard. So he has to have a trash from his hand, which makes it harder for him to find the Spice plus Flow, or he trashes his diplomacy, which is, at this point, his only faction access card that he's got. Yeah, it's a tricky spot here. Now, I will make a mention of it. I'm not going to sit here and say that this made what happened happen. But I was talking on the comms here, and I was basically saying, I was like, come on, Beast, you got, trash the Diplo, you don't need it anymore. Basically telling the Beast, if you get diplomacy, if you get the Spice plus Flow here, like you get to 10 points, you just win the game. And after a bit of thought and a bit of talk from me, I wasn't necessarily trying to make him trash his Diplo, but I certainly got why he did this. But he does end up trashing diplomacy, hunting for that 10th point, and completely sacrificing any defense of any alliance here. Beast takes his shot here and just kind of hopes this is all going to work out here. It's very, very dangerous. He does have the backup of High Council, because I'm almost never going there. So if he pulls a dagger, he can go there. And he's just thinking, if I can just hold on to these alliances, I'm in good shape here. Because he figures, well, if Helena wins the conflict, what alliance is she taking here? Like the Fremen miles ahead of. She could maybe take the Emperor Alliance. It's not guaranteed. How am I going to take the Emperor Alliance? Bit tricky for me to do that, but I do have shipping coming. And I maybe was just hoping that Helena just goes for the Bene Gesserit at this point. I don't exactly know what Badger's thought process was. I didn't get to ask him at the end. He had to shoot off. If he is watching this video, I'd love for him to comment and to see what his thought process here of the situation. I assume that's what it was. He was just thinking, if I can just get the Spice and hold on to these alliances, I just win the game. And, even if it's like a 15-20% shot of winning, that's hard to turn down. Given Badger, needed a win, really, to have, to kind of get to 10 points on the table and have any remote chance of trying to qualify. He decided to take his shot, I guess. So, Helena researches as well, which makes sense. She has to pull a card aside with a ring if she doesn't want to. So, Shai Hulud goes off. Peels of Full Humanity, which I was like, okay, that could be of interest to me and or Helena, potentially. And so the fun continues. So now it's on to me. I'm like, well, what do I want to do? I still need to find a Spice Must Flow card desperately, and I also need to find a way to get hold of this last Talaxu point, and I currently don't have it. It makes playing my experimentations kind of ugly, because, of course, if I play these, I'm never getting specimens. So I pretty much have to now reveal these solidly for specimens and hope that I find something that gets me over the line here. I'm getting an intrigue here. I'm going to pick up another one or two somewhere in this game. I need a bit of help to get the Talaxu point, but I've kind of got to just hope that I find something. There's quite a few intrigues that give me Talaxu points, you know. The Beetle Bump, though one of them's gone from Helena. You've got the Endgame Beetle Bump. You've got Gruesome Sacrifice, a couple of those. I have to ship, though, still. So I figure, well, I can probably use one experimentation, get a second specimen now, and then I'm hopefully going to redraw with Talaxu Master, and I just need to find one of these cards, and maybe I find it. At this point, it's also slightly, I'm like, but I just need to get Spice Must Flows is more important here. So we ship up and down, troop transports. We go up on the Emperor Alliance, of course, to challenge it and say, Beast, you're not going to enjoy life right now. Put the 3 dudes in. Again, plan is to private army this conflict, probably, to get hold of the Spice. We're going to need that for the next round. Paul just reveals early for the Spice Must Flow. So that's his third here. So just brute forcing with Spice. In lack of really anything else to do, which is kind of what he's got to do here. It's been a pretty ugly game for Cheesable. I have kind of made his life pretty uncomfortable, though. I have definitely hindered him a lot. So, you know, he's finding the points here. So, good on him. Beast fires in with his troops. He's got really much else to do. Go intrigues. Hope to find something to maybe defend the Alliance or anything. I don't know. But again, all his faction accesses. The only cards he's trashed are faction access cards. He's got nothing else left. So, kind of crazy here. So Helena tanks for a little bit here, and she ends up pulling out the Opulence with the Instant Spirit. So I'm like, oh no. Oh no, oh no, 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 don't do this. Wild Bump activated, courtesy of Opulence. I'm like, ooh, this could be uncomfortable here. But, and I'm basically like, the problem we've got here is that even though if Helena wins this conflict, she can get the double bump, she could still take the Bene Gesserit Alliance. And the fact that I've done 2 actions and I've not gone Bene Gesserit, she might think that I just haven't drawn access. And so she might figure, well, I might be able to get this alliance and take another one. And she kind of goes through it all here. So she goes to the Savfk here. I'm like, don't have finesse or something. You know, that would be absolutely ugly if she has finesse. I'd be so cross if she had that. But she ums and ahs. Thinking about where to take the wild bump here, and she ends up taking it. I'm like, I basically said, if you go Bene Gesserit, then I've gotta go and defend that. She has the spacing bump on her, which she found. I'm like, oh boy, maybe this is the alliance she's gonna go for here against Beast. Because again, Beast is now at 9 points. Beast has to be stopped. If he has Spice Must Flow here and no alliance goes, the game is over. So she has to win this conflict and take one of the alliances. But she might be expecting me to take the Emperor Alliance, but I don't know. It's a bit of fun and games here. And she kind of ums and ahs at how to proceed here. She ends up going to the Bene Gesserit. I'm like, oh, great. So I have to go Secrets to defend. I jokingly said, as I was like, if I get any battle cards from Helena, we have just a table agreement that I can just give it back to her. There was not agreement or consensus on this deal, but I thought it was worth asking just in case. So we go Secrets to protect. We pick up Shadowy Bargain, which is awesome for us. This is not a very highly desirable intrigue. This is the one that gives you either a specimen or endgame a beetle. It is exactly what we're looking for here. Great find for us. Good timing on that. We pull Tactician from Helena, because I knew she must have some combat intrigues. But I'm like, okay, I guess we might find some use for that. Beast High Councils, as mentioned earlier, so he's going to get the Spice Must Flow here. So Helena has to now win the combat and must take one of the alliances from the Beast. Now, one thing you may notice as well is you'll notice, obviously, I went to Secrets and did not go Emperor and taken the Beast Alliance. And again, this is me thinking, this has got to go another round. Beast has no more faction access. I'm the one with all the faction access. I'm the one with the Face Dancer Initiate. So I can go Emperor basically whenever the hell I want and take this alliance. I don't have to do it now. And by going to Secrets, I both protect my alliance, and it forces Helena to take one of the beasts. she has to take a Beast Alliance now, because of course if she doesn't, the game just ends. So I managed to kind of force her hand here. She had Diplo, so I think her plan was that I just go Emperor and she just takes the Bene Gesserit. But I was like, nah, I don't need to do that. I can make you take this alliance instead. I'm not sacrificing my Bene Gesserit for that. So Helena, with the spacing bump, has to go for an alliance here. She goes for the fold space for the spacing alliance. Now, I do not know if that is the right decision. I would have thought as Helena, I think I still would have wanted to have gone Emperor to win it and go 5 up. It's really hard how to see I'm going to get 2 bumps there. And I don't know if that's an error from Sunny D. It might be. I'm curious to know your thoughts. What alliance she goes for there. She can't go Fremen, she can't take it. But, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. Is she meant to go Emperor there instead of spacing? Very unsure. I feel like that might have been the better move, but spacing it was. So we reveal for the 9. So we have the Spicemas Flow in hand, which is awesome. So yeah, playing as Tezia and getting hold 2 Spicemas Flows is absolutely huge. It gets me to 8 points. The Emperor Alliance is going to fall basically whenever I want it to. I don't have to worry about that. We're also going to look to try to take the intrigue away from the Beast here now, using our cards, because I'm not really fighting the next conflict, realistically. The Beast is going to go in heavy. He's got not much else to do. He's got a faction house. He's just going to jam troops in with his ring if he finds it again, and such. So yeah, there's the Spices Flow found by the Beast. He had his 10 points. So Helena's actions completely forced there. Reveals Jamis for some swords. And does go on to take the victory here, as mentioned. We do play cards in order to get in front of both Cheesable and the Beast, looking to go for second place here. Cheesable thinks about it for a little bit, about how to proceed here, and he's like, do I get involved now or not? And he opts to do so, figuring he has got the High Council Restricted Ordnance now. So he puts in the +4 swords to tie me. Beast does retreat with his last intrigue, getting ready for next conflict. We do play the Tactician in order to take the bonus intrigue. Thinking, well, there's a few intrigues I could find that could be pretty useful for me. And again, I'm not really getting involved in combat right now. Nothing else gets played. So, yeah, we pull the intrigue and we pick up Stage Incident. Absolute. I mean, that is about as good a card as I could have found. Other than, Call the Market, which was a point, or Plans Within Plans, which is probably going to be a point. Stage Instant's pretty high up there as well. And I've got my 2 troops in garrison from my shipping cash-in from earlier. So, yeah, really good timing there. And that is going to be almost certainly a point. But I've got a lot of things I've got to do in the 6th round. I've got to take the Emperor Alliance. I've got to get 3 troops in. And I need to try and find a Spice Plus Flow, because 10 points is probably not enough here. I need to find 3 more points here, and I'm not guaranteed to do so. I've got my Taxing Master here, but I'm reliant on some luck. At this point, I've got 2 specimens. So I'm going to have to draw a load of cards, and I need to find an experimentation. I've got 10 cards. And yeah, I have to find one. If I don't find any of them, I lose the Talaxi point. Unless I get like absolutely crazy lucky. We cycle out the Spice Must Flow for round 8, which is Imperial Basin. So bonus troop for Helena, which is good for us really. If Beast wins this conflict, he probably just wins the game still anyways. But who knows? Helena now have a chance. It's all pretty close here coming into the final round. And again. So normally you would think you just go Emperor Alliance and just take the Alliance. But again, I know Beast has no faction access and he's got no intrigues. He can't defend it. There's nothing that he can do about it. So I figure, well, I've got to find an experimentation card. It is too important to find this. If I find either of them, it's just a point. And this is really important for me. So after a little bit of tanking, Badger saying he was struggling for time a little bit here, which is fine. We think about it, and we're like, well, how am I ever going to draw cards here? I don't have the water for Research Station. So the only other place for me to go is going to be Selective Breeding. I figured, well, Paul Atreides also pretty wants to go Selective Breeding. He does not yet have the Bene Gesserit point. So, I can kind of get in his way just in case he has, because he could have Call the Market here. If he's got Call the Market there, we're in big trouble. So I go selective breeding, I trash out the Diplo because this is the last round, not going to need it anymore. And we draw the Spice Must Flow in our Secret Ring. Pretty hideous draw. I'm like, oh god, I can't do anything with this. No chance of Spice Must Flow. I don't have experimentation for Talaxu, so pretty hideous draw. But I'm like, well, at least I got the Talaxu Master as backup. I'm going to get 2 more cards out of this. Poor Trades goes Mentap, buying time. Beast just goes research, and he's just, I'm going to fire everything in here. I got nothing else to do. And he doesn't. His hand is now in a situation where he has nothing else to do but just fire in troops and hope it all works out. Kind of put himself into a bit of a corner here. Helena ships. She goes up and down. I think she just cements the Spacing Alliance, I think it is. Even though it's not in any danger. Maybe didn't realize the Beast had no faction access anymore, but so be it. But again, like, if she had gone to the Emperor and then taken the bump up with the shipping, I'd be in real trouble here. And I'd be like, how am I going to win this game? So I think I was very fortunate that he went spacing. And maybe it was just, maybe Sonny just felt, if you go spacing, I'm just guaranteed the point. If you go Emperor, not guarantee the point. I could have a few intrigues or any sort of things going on. I've got the faction access. I could make life very difficult. So kind of just thinking, take the sure point rather than fighting me for the Emperor Alliance. Because if she goes for that and loses it, she's just completely dead in the water. And I think there's a good argument for that. I now opt to go for the Emperor Alliance. What I should have done is, the problem was I didn't have 4 spice, and I was terrified of someone just going Wealth to block me. What I was doing was eyeing up going Carfag to get the troops in. I have to do 2 things. I have to take the Emperor Alliance, and I have to pet troops in. The problem is that I can get blocked on both sides. If the Wealth goes, I can't take the Emperor Alliance. I'm completely screwed. Here, at least, there's 3 different places to go, and I'm thinking, what are the odds that Paul Atreides, Beast Harkonnen, and Helena go to all 3 separate spaces to keep me out? Very unlikely. If Helena's going City, she's almost certainly going Carfag regardless to get the intrigue. So I figure I'm probably safe to get to Siege if nothing else. Maybe Arakeen and Once on a Blue Moon. But I figure I've only got 3 spice. I've got to make the steal now. So after a little bit of thought, we take the steal. We get to 9 points with intentions of going to Stir City, get staged up for 10. And then we just have to hope we find experimentation. We have 8 cards in our deck. 2 of them give us a point. 6 of them don't. So, it's kind of where we're at here. Beast fires in, as expected. Poor Atreides went to Arakeen. Makes sense. And Helena then goes to the Spice. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. She probably wants to go Highline, doesn't she? She needs to win the conflict. So I'm like, oh yeah, of course. She might not even go Siege anyways. Or to a City anyways. So I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty safe. So she picks up the Spice, gets her second Talaxu point. So good job, Helena. Well done. I didn't actually think she was going to get to the end of this track. She did very well to manage this. And it turns out she's not even going faction access. She picked up machine culture. So she grabs invasion ships off the row here to get the dudes in that way. And Beast hates his life. He's like, oh, for goodness sakes. Nothing interesting in the text here. So Siege is open. So we just send them in with our ring, knowing we're going to get to 10 points. And hoping it all works out. Poor Atreides reveals for his 4th Spice Must Flow in 8 rounds. Absolute machine up there. Given how this game has gone, he's done incredibly well to get this far. Real tough game for Cheesable this, given everything that was going on. But I think he played pretty well given the circumstances. Maybe didn't get the result that I think he deserved in this match here, unfortunately. But I think he made the most of what he had there. So he played pretty solid. Beast grabs the Spice at Great Flat for tiebreakers. Might as well. And then Helena with In the Shadows, going to Carfag. The bump isn't doing anything for her at this point, obviously. But just chucks them in. Rocks and rolls. Alright then, so it is the moment of truth. If we pull experimentation, we get a point. If we don't, we lose. Are you, however, curious to know what the odds are of what the card draw is? And maybe this is something you could actually do as an exercise when you're playing these situations. You're thinking ahead of doing what I've done and what's the chance of me actually getting what the result I want? Let's do a bit of basic maths. So this is the very basics how probability works. I wouldn't suggest doing this on the table by any stretch, but if you're interested to know how this actually stuff gets calculated, then feel free to watch. If you don't, skip ahead a few minutes. Totally fine, but you might find this interesting. I did statistics a bit for when I was in school and such. So, basic probability is there are two numbers you need to know. There is 1, which is the odds of something happening all the time. It's absolutely certain. And 0, which is the odds of something never happening. Completely impossible, like me winning this tournament. So, in reality, everything happens in this area here. And what you've got to do is try and work out what the odds are. So, for example, if we take a coin, and it can obviously flip heads or tails, because sides don't count, what you do is you take the total outcomes, which is 2, heads or tails, and then you take the conclusion you're looking for. So, if we want to flip heads, you take 1. 1 over 2 is 0.5. And if you want to make it into a percentage, what you do is you times it by 100%. Doing this on the mouse is really difficult, and that gives you 50%, which is, of course, the odds of flipping heads or tails. Makes sense? Pretty good. Now, of course, our situation is a bit more complicated. We're drawing cards from a deck, and we're not doing it once, we're possibly doing it twice as well. So this is where tree branches are really useful as I lose my canvas. Let me go fix that here. So let's take a deck of cards here. So we've got, this is our cards. Let me do a C here. So cards, and there are 8 of them total, right? We know there's 8 cards we're drawing for. Now, 2 of them are experimentations, and we need to find the odds of drawing one of these. So what you do is a tree diagram, and basically doing is just mapping out what can possibly happen. So we do a card draw, and there are simply 2 results. Either we find the experimentation, call it plus E, or we don't find the experimentation, which is minus E. So, again, the basics here is pretty simple. So, 8 cards, 2 total. So, the odds of finding experimentation is 2 over 8, which equals 0.25, which is going to be over here. And, of course, that means the odds of not finding experimentation is going to be 0.75, which are the odds of missing. But, of course, we get 2 draws. Now, of course, if we find the experimentation here, it's already good. We don't have to worry about it. It's great. But if we miss the first time, we get a second chance. So, you do another branch. And of course, now the deck is different because the card doesn't get replaced. So now there are 7 total cards, and 2 of them are experimentation. So now the odds of finding experimentation is 2 over 7, which comes out at about 2.8 roughly. Don't worry about the exact maths. And minus E is whatever that is, 0.72 or something like that. So, to work out the odds of what you're actually going to do, you add the branches together of the results you're looking for. So, either we just draw the experimentation immediately, which is 0.25, or we miss it the first time and then get it the second time, which is involving these numbers. And so, what the maths is such. You come down here. So, the odds of finding one card is 0.25, which is the first branch. And then you add the branches together. So then you get 0.75, and you times it by 0.28 because those are on the same branch. It's all the same thing here. And then that gives you whatever the result is. So if we just bring up our little calculator here, so 0.75 times 0.28 is 0.21. So the odds of this branch specifically happening is about 1 in 5. And then 0.21 plus 0.25 is 0.46, and this is the actual odds of finding one card out of 2 draws. So slightly worse than the coin flip, but that's how you work out basic probability. Again, don't do this at the table. It's not a good idea, but you might find it interesting to kind of change some numbers about and just, if there's a couple of sort of rough numbers in your head, it might be useful in a game or two. This is how you work out basic probability. So with Professor Shadow thoroughly retired for the day, let's see what we draw then. So, just worse than a coin flip to find it for a point. First one, miss. Uh-oh, that's not good. 0.28. There it is. We find it. Bink. We get our point there. So, sometimes you just got to trust a bit of luck, and that's the way it goes. And ultimately, if you're going to win competitions and tournaments, you got to win your coin flips, kids. We pick up the extra intrigue as well, which is we were going to get anyways, either with Shadowy Bargain or whatever. We end up finding the other freaking bump here for the touch. I'm like, great. Well, I don't need that because I've already got it, but what are you going to do? So that is the case. That's our reveal. Nothing else to do here. The rest of the reveals happen. The Beast redraws. He is got a load of swords here. He's looking for one card in particular. I can't remember which one it was. But he doesn't find it was experimentation. I think he was looking for his other sword card so he could get in front of Helena, I think. As he had Rapid here, so he just dumps them in. I'm not entirely sure what card it was he's looking at. He said there was one specifically. I can't quite recall. Helena reveals for Chani. I tell her she should retreat the troops for the next round. She doesn't fall for it somehow. Very annoying. But of course, Helena's got loads of intrigues, and she, of course, gets in front of the beast for the conflict. I retreat my troops and stage them for the points. So we get to 10. Knowing we're getting to 11, the conflict stage was an absolutely massive pull. There's the war chest from Helena. And that is the end of the game. I'll be honest, at this stage, I didn't actually think 11 was going to be good. But it turns out that 11 was good. I really thought someone else had some end games going on, but no one did. Paul Atreides had nothing rocking at all. Helena gets to the 10 here, and she just turns over a load of nothing. Tiebreaker for the spice. I'm like, oh, don't do this to me. Not the slow roll. But nope, Secret Forces, Adamada, nothing. So we take down the game and we get the win, which I did not expect. Now, I'm sure there's going to be someone saying, oh, lol, Tesia, Taximaster, you should win this game. But, I mean, you know, and maybe you could say, oh, lol, you were really lucky. It was Grand Vision, you know, sat Grand Vision out the game. I still think Grand Vision is interesting because it makes a lot of interesting situations. If it had been economic, it would have been a complete catastrophe for me. That was the only one I didn't need. If it was anything else, I'm probably okay. I mean, if it's 2 double victory points, that's obviously not good for me. But again, we go down the probability, you know, the odds of finding Grand Vision in 2 draws is not terrible. It's probably about like 1 in 3. You go to round 8 and you find Grand Vision. I'd say it's probably about right. So, you know, maybe a little bit fortunate. And I do remark, you know, like the hard reveal for Talaxu Master. I'm sure I did Lannister proud in that and getting the win here. Had to ride my luck a little bit, but it's what you got to do. Had to kind of hope that conflicts kind of broke out as I had planned, which they did. And I had to hope that me going for the Bene Gesserit would force Yellow to take one of the Emperors, one of the alliances here. And not go for me, buy me the time to get that and pinch the Emperor, which is exactly what ended up happening. Again, Sunny probably should have gone Emperor, and you could say, well, if Sunny had gone Emperor, they would have just won the game, and you're probably right, they probably would have just won the game. My only assumption, looking back at it actually, if we look back to the situation where they had Grand Vision, is that maybe they needed the specimens for the conflict here. No, they had loads of stuff in their bowl. And I thought maybe they were worried about like getting the troops in and not having enough of the specimens. But they were fine, to be honest. I guess though they had intentions of going Invasion Ship City, and so that would have left them short to get it. But at this point, I don't really think it mattered. So I don't know, bit of a weird one. Harvest sales, maybe that's the maths there. But again, fortunate for us, they didn't go Emperor, and so we take the W. So here's the final results of the game. Cheesable, unfortunately, getting 4th place. I think he played pretty well, given the pretty bad spot he found himself in. Probably deserved an extra point on top, but just didn't really break his way. But he's got the rest of the group to go. He's in all 3 remaining games. Speaking of which, here is the group tables as well. To see how things stand. We are at the heady height of 2nd place. It is a strange place to be, kids. We are ahead of Green Goals, courtesy of the winning tiebreak. But of course, Sunny D just a point behind with a game in hand. So I still go into the last game knowing I have to win it. Anything else, and unless Sunny just completely collapses, I have to get. 2nd place for me would be 12 points, which is not going to be enough. It won't beat Che Guevara, and I'm going to get caught by someone. So I have to win the last game. And who knows? Maybe I can win the last game. It'd be pretty cool to make a knockout section of a competition for once. I have historically not managed to do so for quite a while, so that'd be kind of neat. And in this tournament as well, it'd be a real surprise. Also, those interested for like the ELO ranking stuff, I made like 65 points in this game because my ranking was like 800 and something. Because for the variety of reasons, I don't really worry about it. I kind of go and rank games. I just try stuff. So I'm not really worried about winning the games too much. That's why they must have these experienced only, please. So they don't have massive swings. But I made like 65 points in this game, which is like ridiculous and shouldn't happen. But what are you gonna do? So yeah, we have chances. We have a chance. We just got to win the next game. Sunny D's second place is pretty solid. Badger, unfortunately, is out. The Dinosaur has got work to do. They are going to have to win at least one of their remaining games. Dinosaur probably has to win both games as well. Same spot that I was in. And Cheesable only pick up the 1 point in the first game, but that's exactly what I did. So not a good start for him. But time left with the 3 remaining matches. That is going to be it for this one then. So I thank you all for watching, even with a little bit of extra maths. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully not too long, but it was kind of a weird game overall. A lot of strange stuff happened all throughout this match, and not all of it I could really accurately explain. A really bizarre opening, getting access to shipping round 2, and no one else had gone there first. The hard TM reveal. There was a lot of weird stuff. This was a very non-standard game, and of course, yeah, like I had to kind of play the table in the mid game, kind of almost letting the beast like surge ahead in the hope/assumption that I would be able to claw back later on because of his heavily limited faction access. He took the decision to sack off his Diplo, trying to end the game on the spot, and then I forced Yellow to take while the Emperor, the Spacing Alliance, and then we go for the Emperor, and we managed to intrigue ourselves to the end. So I can't hugely complain. Ran a bit of luck, but sometimes you got to play for it, and today it came in, which was a nice feeling. We don't win a lot of games, it feels like sometimes. So take care, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed. Of course, we'll have more content from the Salt Throne. I'm also going to be getting up some videos on my own. And this is going to be regarding some discussion topics that are coming up recently. Obviously, there's been a Cheesable specifically. I put up a video recently with his thoughts about the current state of the meta, which I think was interesting, and I'll be doing a video in response to that. I also wanted to do a video as well, kind of looking ahead a little bit for the next expansion for the game, which is going to be coming out fairly soon. We don't know very many details of what it's going to be yet, so I'm going to give my 2 cents on what I think it could be and what I think it should be, and what I would prefer it to be, and they are not all the same thing at all. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. A little bit of an interesting game, kind of wacky, a bit of table dynamic stuff going on, and me playing kind of recklessly. I could not do this constantly and get away with it, but today we did. Take care, everyone. I'll see you.